Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of An Area of Darkness by V.S. Naipaul. This book, written in 1964, details Naipaul's journey through India in the early 60s. The narrative depicts distressing poverty, corruption, and cultural clashes. V.S. Naipaul starts his trip to India, a place his family left a long time ago. However, he struggles with not knowing where he fits in this country because he grew up in Trinidad and was influenced by the West. He shows this inner struggle in the way he talks to the Indians he meets on the ship and in Bombay. While he is on board, he sees the Indian social structures and traditions which both interest and bother him. He pays attention to the clothes, actions, and habits of the Indians he meets to show that he is different. Naipaul wants to connect with his roots. Naipaul's trip isn't just about going back to where he came from. It's also about figuring out his different identities and cultural influence. Since Naipaul was born in Trinidad to an Indian family, India had always been a magical place in his mind, shaped by the stories and traditions that people in his diaspora community shared. But when he got to India, the place where his relatives had lived, he saw things that were very different from the stories he had heard as a child. Naipaul's trip to India was a pilgrimage to his ancestors' land. The trip was tainted by both high hopes and a deep desire to find out who he was. When they arrived in a place that was meant to feel like home but was surprisingly strange, it caused a deep internal conflict. When he got to India, it was a shock to his senses and emotions. It was different from the pictures he had in his head. He was Indian, but he stood out because he wasn't like everyone else. He thought he would be able to easily connect culturally and emotionally with the locals, but he was seen as a stranger. As he traveled, each new place added to his knowledge and sense of being alone. Nepal's trip through India turned into a lot more than just a tourist trip. V.S. Naipaul painted a very realistic picture of a circus in Bombay to show how fake and shallow modern Indian society is. At first glance, the circus looks like a fun way to pass the time, but Naipaul sees Indian society as a fake copy of Western culture. The actors in their flashy clothes represent the Indian middle class who want to escape their everyday lives through shows and fantasy. Naipaul's observations about the Indian middle class, like how much they love going to the circus, show how they want to escape reality and are not attached to traditional Indian values. Naipaul looks at various aspects of society, emphasizing the lasting effects of the caste system, the widespread poverty, and the complex political situation that affects the everyday lives of people in India. Naipaul shows caste system as a long-standing social order that resists change, creating divisions among people that lead to social inequality and a feeling of acceptance of one's situation. He is surprised by how strong this system remains even with modern influences and how it affects almost every interaction and social structure in India. He addresses the harsh and widespread poverty he sees during his journey. The existence of slums, beggars, and the ongoing fight for basic needs is evident in both cities and rural areas, contrasting sharply with the lives of the westernized upper and middle classes. Naipaul also portrays India's political scene as swinging between strong nationalism and chaotic governance. He criticizes what he views as political showmanship that often overlooks critical social issues like education and healthcare. He believes these failures hinder progress in addressing poverty and social reforms, making it harder for India to develop a unified national identity and move forward. Naipaul travels from the lively streets of Bombay to the peaceful spiritual areas of Varanasi, each location showing different aspects of Indian society and its complicated history. In Bombay, Naipaul shares his experience in the busy markets where a mix of products and people create a chaotic but vibrant atmosphere. This is very different from the serious and historical vibe he finds in Varanasi, where life and death rituals happen regularly along the Ganges River. There, he thinks how today is linked to deep rooted traditions and the ancient Hindu culture. Nepal also explores southern India, visiting historical places like the ruins of Vijayanagar in Karnataka. These ruins symbolize a once great civilization. In Kerala, he looks into the effects of colonialism and the complex caste system, showing how they shape today's political scene. Nepal came to India with a lot of nostalgic and hopes based on stories from family and the idealist versions of India that are praised in literature. However, India was very different from what he had imagined. The chaos, poverty, and sluggish government work, along with the strong reminders of colonial abuse, took away the idealistic pictures he carried. His initial enchantment changes into a deeper knowledge of how complicated India is. The trip makes him realize how important it is to look at India not through the lens of memories but through the lens of actual events and the country's rich history. V.S. Nepal's trip through India comes to an end. His many encounters with India's harsh realities of poverty, social stratification, and bureaucratic inertia have broken down the illusions that were built up through diasporic nostalgia and post colonial literature portrayals. But they have also helped him understand more deeply the complicated things that make up modern India. Nepal shows that he is content with being an outsider, and here ends the summary. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.